Listen, I'm gonna be honest. As a professional web designer, of course I think you should hire someone to build you an epic website. But I also know that's not always an option. So if you're determined to DIY your website and not have it come out looking like a hot mess, then I'm gonna help you out. Welcome back to my business and branding series here on YouTube. And if you're new around here, I'm Mariah, the owner and creative director of Mariah Riona Branding. I help creative female entrepreneurs build brands with confidence and success. This month's topic is, you guessed it, website design. And I'm gonna get pretty nerdy, design nerdy that is. Today, I'm spilling my secrets. I'm gonna share my top 7 tips for designing a professional looking website. And I'll be sharing some insight into my own design process. So let's dive in. Tip number 1, design on the right website platform. Not all website platforms are created equal, and you definitely know already that you get what you pay for. Free website builders like Wix are a definite no-no. They're cheap, cumbersome, and hard to customize, and they're just unprofessional looking. As much as you tweak and edit those free sites, you can never get them quite right. Guess what? When your website looks cheap and unprofessional, you and your business look cheap and unprofessional. I've already touched on this in my video about luxury branding, but if you want to attract high-paying clients who won't try to nickel and dime you, then you need to look like you're worth it, which means having a professional and high-end looking website. So your first step is to make sure you're on a quality platform. My platform of choice is Showit. I design all of my client websites on Showit, and because it allows full customization, I'm able to create whatever I want. It's basically a blank slate. So I can make sure all of my client sites are on brand, looking and functioning perfectly. Tip number 2, get branded first. Speaking of staying on brand, don't put the cart before the horse when it comes to your website. I see this with a lot of my clients. They come to me wanting a website because they think a shiny new website will solve all of their problems. And sure, launching a gorgeous, professionally designed website will definitely elevate you above your DIY'd competitors, but a website alone won't solve your business woes. Your website is one single aspect, albeit a very important aspect, in your overall visual branding system. To design a successful website, you need to design a successful brand first. And no, I'm not talking about just a logo. I've worked with a lot of my web design clients on their branding first. So when it comes to web design, I already know those really important branding elements like their colors, their fonts, and overall brand aesthetic. I also have a whole system of logos on hand, in the correct file type of course, and no, it's not JPEG, so I can incorporate it throughout their website in various sizes and orientations. So if you're just dying to get your business on the internet, or if you're eager to make it look better, make sure you do your homework first and design that oh so important visual branding first. Or even better, hire a professional brand designer. Tip number 3. Get brand photos taken before you begin. I know, you're just dying to design or redesign your site, and I'm giving you all this extra work to do. But listen to me, if you don't do this very important homework first, your site won't be nearly as successful, nor professional looking, so it's totally worth it, believe me. These days, almost all of my clients go through my entire branding process, which means we're working together on their brand strategy, their visual brand design, their brand photography and video sometimes, and then their websites. That's the exact order I always do it in. Brand strategy, visual branding design, or what I call the brand collection, then brand photography, and sometimes video too. Last is website design. There's a reason I do it this way. Each element of this branding process builds on the previous one. I've had to tell clients before, listen, I can build you a really gorgeous website, but if we don't have that strategy, that brand design, and photography in place, it's not really going to do much for you. It's the whole cart before the horse thing again. And if you are a photographer or a designer or some kind of artist and you're thinking, I don't need brand photography, I've got tons of photos for my portfolio. Let me stop you right there. You cannot hide behind your portfolio, friend. Listen, if you've watched any of my other branding videos or read the blog posts, you know that I teach that you are not actually selling your product of photography or design or whatever. You're selling an experience with the one and only you. So heck yes, you need brand photos. And I want to see them not just on your About page, but across your whole website, including on the homepage above the fold. Above the fold is a design term. It means in the visible area when a page loads, before you have to scroll. Tip number 4, design a wireframe first. Yep, you guessed it, more homework. What's a wireframe, you ask? It's basically a visual representation of what the website will look like before you create the actual design. Think of it as your design guide. I create a wireframe for each one of my web design clients, whether they're coming to me for a full website design or they're returning for a new sales page or landing page or something like that. The reason this is so important is because I already know before I ever sit down to start designing the website all of the elements I need to include on every single page. This really helps with the planning process because I know which graphics and photos and videos and web copy I need for every page. It also helps my clients when they're writing or working with a professional copywriter on their web copy. Web copy is a term for all of the copy or text or wording that will appear on a website. They know, for example, on their homepage, they need a great headline, then some body copy that's going to go underneath it, and then copy for the call to action button. Again, do this pre-design work to set yourself up for success. Otherwise, you're going to be staring at a blank screen, wondering what the heck you should be designing. Tip number 5, use negative space throughout your website design. So we're finally getting into some actual design tips. Yay! Okay, negative space. This one is huge. It will totally set you apart from the amateurs. Negative space is the space around the subject of a photograph or a design. Sometimes it's called white space or buffer space. I like to think of it as the breathing room for your design. And here's the thing, one of the biggest giveaways to me that a website was created by a non-designer or a bad designer or DIY'd with a website template is when there's a serious lack of negative space. And this is one of my biggest design pet peeves. It just drives me crazy. It actually makes me feel really uncomfortable, and it makes all viewers feel uncomfortable because the design is crowded. It feels suffocating. We don't know where to look. Everything's screaming for our attention. Most viewers who land on a web page without the right balance of positive and negative space are gonna feel overwhelmed. So they're just gonna bounce right out of there. And like I said, it's kind of a dead giveaway that it wasn't designed by a professional. So your brand and your business are gonna look unprofessional. And that is the last thing you want. Tip number 6, focus on your typography. I work with photographers and other creative entrepreneurs, and these people are artists, so naturally they're always focused on their artwork and their portfolio on their website. But here's a little secret, the typography, the way you handle the words in your site design can make or break your website. So you need to give equal priority, or in my opinion, actually top priority to the typography in your website design. Because here's the thing, your website is not just there to show off pretty pictures. Your website exists to convert visitors into clients. Let that sink in. Your website exists to convert visitors into clients. So you need to be sharing your message eloquently. That's why I recommend hiring a professional copywriter to help you with the words, and then making sure you ace the way you design those words. To learn more, check out my video on brand fonts. I've linked it down below. Tip number 7, be consistent with your website design. Inconsistency. This is another one of those dead giveaways of a DIY website. I talk about this a lot with visual branding in general, but the same thing applies to your website design. Inconsistency in design subconsciously makes your audience view your brand as flaky and untrustworthy. On the other hand, when you're consistently consistent, you build that oh so important trust with your audience. So if you follow my second tip in this video to get branded first, you'll already be starting off on the right foot. You should know what your visual branding looks like and know how to be consistent with it. So now your job is to figure out how that translates into your web design. More than that though, you want to be consistent across the website. There should be an overall visual theme and design language that repeats itself on every page. If a visitor lands on your homepage, then clicks to your About page where there's a completely different design style, it's gonna feel really jarring. One trick for this is to treat your website design as a whole project. Think of it as one cohesive design with repeating themes and styles, instead of approaching each page as a separate design. Well, I sure hope this video was helpful. Leave me a comment below if you are ready to dive in and start designing your website. Also, I would just love it if you would click that little subscribe button. I'll be back here next week with another video about website design, and I post new videos on business and branding tips every Thursday. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. And lastly, don't forget to grab my free workbook, The Brand Blueprint. It's a 20-page step-by-step guide to help you build a super solid brand foundation. I've linked it down below, so go check it out, and I'll see you here next time.